Hey folks, this is Joe at Creekside Cabin Games. I just want to check in and show you what I've been working on since the last update. It's been the week of the holiday and then the following week, so I've been kind of on half time, but I got a lot of stuff done, a lot of cool stuff to show off. The first is adding snow to the entire level. And I just want to tell you a little bit about how I did that, because I think it's a pretty clever solution. It's not perfect yet, and there's probably better stuff out there. But let's just talk about it, and if anybody has any other ideas, I'd love to hear how you've done it or whatever, because I'm not done yet, and there's some serious flaws with this system. So I'm not going to get into exactly how I made the particle effects, but we can look at them real quick. The snow, I'm talking about the falling snow here. Let's just take a quick look at it. And some of the key elements about it. It is, because it's 2D, is really tricky to get it working correctly and keeping all the particles on the plane. So I had to change the rotation to 90 degrees on the x-axis. That's important. And you have to make it, on the shape, you have to make it zero width on the y and z axis and just tall on the x axis to make it y to make the snow fall. Like, we can't watch it because the game's not playing. We'll watch it run in a second here. Anyhow, this is important. Rectangle, zero width, zero clip threshold. I made my own texture, very simple, like just a little drawing of snow. There's another good tutorial on how to make snow on YouTube, so just Google it. There's a guy that makes a really good 2D snow tutorial, so I'll let you find that. Anyhow, let's go back to the scene and see. Let's zoom out, because I need you to see the entire thing here. Well, let's watch the snow. Let's just watch the snow as we go through the game. I restarted there, so we can watch on the game view on this side how the snow falls as we go through the game there. So we have a little noise. It travels up and down and left and right a little bit. There's a couple layers and a couple different sizes and stuff. So it looks, it's pretty decent, honestly. It's like nearly game ready. But there's a couple things I don't like about it. And I don't think we're at the right spot yet. I'll try to pause when we are. Okay, so right here, at this level, I'm going to go frame by frame, and I want you to watch the snow particles disappear and reappear. Oh, you know what? I don't think it simulates when you step through like that. Oh yeah, it is. It's just going too slow. It's really hard to see. But anyway, the particle emitters are tiled across the level. And you may have seen over here in the scene view, they pop in and out. They stay in a cache up here with the snow falling because it's really expensive to start the snowfall. So I do all the snowfall starting at the beginning and then tile them as the player moves through. So you watch as the player moves over here, and the game view, you'll just see you'll see the big chunks of particles replacing themselves. It just pulls any that the player's not active in. So it may pull from the cache up here, it may pull an already active one. So it gives the illusion that snow's always falling. But if you look closely, you'll see horizontal lines where particles disappear and reappear. And that's the one thing. I think I can get it better if I move the level start. Let me just show you this. I think I get it really good if I'm positioned about right here. And we'll be able to watch it happen, and you'll see why I'm dissatisfied. And I can't figure out, I haven't put all the energy I could into this problem, but I can't figure out how to solve this problem yet. I'm just trying to look for the spot where they're disappearing and reappearing. And we'll just zoom over the hill here. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Right here. Right about level with the dragon. You'll see the pieces are disappearing and reappearing. Obviously no good. Can't have that. So what I would like, maybe what I'd do is on collision, turn them into world perspective so they just stay there. But then what happens is, oh, we're going the wrong way. What happens is then the snow would accumulate, and I think build in areas over time. It would just stay. There'd be more snow the further down in the level you get. I guess I could reduce the number of particles that are allowed to be on screen. Anyway, so that's how that works. I think it's a pretty clever way to always have snow on screen. If we look at one of these elements, how do we get in there? Snow particle containers. We just have to find a random one. Okay. The precipitation containers hold the collision. So if we can look at the collider here, is it gonna? I don't know why, but it's. Oh, I have gizmos off. So here's the collider, and inside here, the shaded area is where the snow falls. So if the player's in the green area, within the green bounds, the snow falls in this area. And then they're tiled. So if we look here, see how they just kind of tile? So a bunch around the player are active at once. That way, no matter how fast you're going or whatever, you don't move out of them. There'll never be, that was a bad way to say it. There'll never be a time when snow's not on your screen. Alright. And that's how snow works. Cool. The other thing I did is change how the AI works. The enemies. Instead of just having what I used to have was the enemies would spawn on screen with a radius, or they would just be on screen. The enemies would be on screen with a radius. When the player got inside it, they would attack the player. But I just got to thinking about long term and managing like dozens of enemies or hundreds of enemies, however many there's going to be. And it just sounded awful. So I wanted I wanted to build a system around enemy management, and then that just gave me a cool idea of kind of queuing enemies. Because one thing I had trouble doing was like helping the player understand what move they'll need to do to defeat the enemies, and by queuing them, they'll have it in their mind if a jump's coming up, which move they need to do. They'll have time to think about it, which will allow me to make more complex scenarios, I think. So, how do enemies work? There's now enemy spawn objects. Okay, let's go look at one. So the enemy spawn object holds. Actually, that's the enemy spawn singular is the object. It has a spawn point where the enemy appears. It has an attack point where once the player touches this trigger, this red area, the enemy begins the attack, and the enemy spawn trigger is where when the enemy crosses this area, the enemy appears here. Now you may have noticed there's a dragon in the scene. I'm going to move the enemy spawn up to where the player is now. It's just going to be a little easier to manage here and to see how it works. So the player spawns here at the pipe. When we hit here, the enemy will appear, and then we'll talk about what it does after it appears. So there the enemy appeared and it went to the dragon. Okay. Ooh, I had not planned for that collision. That's funny. Haha, I found a bug. We're going to have to move up here so that we don't run into that bug again. And let's move the level start to be near there. I connect all the parallax elements to the level start just so I don't have to move everything around every time. keep track of it. So, okay, so the enemy's going to appear. I'm going the wrong way. Enemy appears with the orange dot and goes to the dragon. And it goes to one of 5 places the dragon has available. And you can configure that, the number of places. So the dragon can hold a bunch of enemies is what I'm saying. So you can imagine like coming up to a series of jumps or grinds or whatever with knowing like the 3 enemies that are going to attack you. So you can plan which moves you're going to want to do. Alright, so here we go. We're going to cross this threshold and the enemy will begin attacking. And I'm not set up to fight this enemy. So that's a melee enemy there. Alright. And what it did was it sensed my location and just lurked. Super smooth lurked to me. See, but there I did the move to defeat it. Okay, so I did the nose grab. If you recall, that's how it works. Kind of, you do the move to defeat the enemy. So I know what's coming. I'm going to wait for him to attack, do the nose grab, and kill him there. And he dies and floats away. But anyway, the dragon here, it always stays in the screen, except for that bug we just saw where if the terrain goes above the player, we're in trouble. So that's... I'm going to have to... I guess we turn off collision. Yeah, we just got to turn off collision for the enemies and bring the dragon out front. That's obviously what we do. So yeah, that's how... let's do... we can swap that out with a projectile enemy very, very easily. So if we go to the spawn trigger, we pick what... which prefab enemy we want to the flying shooter, that's what it is. We pick which prefab we want to spawn. So just by doing that, now I have a different enemy that's going to appear that behaves differently. And that's what I want to, back to like the beginning of this portion of the video, I wanted to make an easy way to manage all the different enemies. So I can now extend these. If I select this attack point, I can extend it anywhere I want in the level so that that enemy can queue up and stay on the dragon for a really long time. So it's really easy to say where they're going to join the dragon, where they're going to attack, where they're going to. So they have 2 jobs: tell the player they're there and attack the player. And now I have one trigger for each thing, and it's a geographical physical location trigger. Okay, so now we have a projectile. We'll see how the projectile enemy does their thing here. I don't think without a jump I'm going to be able to defend this one, but it really doesn't matter. I gotta change the sprite on the melee enemy. So he's gonna shoot a big arrow at me, and that got me, and that hurt me. And then he's headed off. If I get him though, you may have seen in another video, I shoot a cool laser back at him. Those are the major things. Let's actually look at the prefabs and how the AI works. So if you want to dig into the code, I'm not going to go too far, but comment on the video if you want to learn more about how I've done this. I don't have a lot of time to make these videos, so I'll only do it if there's interest, but I would love to. Let's look at, for how the AI works in Corgi Engine, I suggest you check out Corgi Engine's documentation, but I've extended it and I've added a couple actions. Move to carrier slot, pre-fire movement, fire homing projectile, or in the melee case, melee attack towards the character, post-fire movement, and retreat. If we look at some of that code, let's just look at like post-fire movement, because they all work the same pretty much. They have a process move where they do some kind of easing of the movement, and they lerp to the target. The AI brain tracks What's important, what makes it really easy is I make the enemies or the homing projectiles, I make them children of the character. So they just home towards the 0, 0. Their relative parent, they just go. Or I can feed a position relative to the parent for them to move. So if I want them to shoot up away 100 paces or whatever, I just do that. Okay, and then the next thing I've been working on, and I barely dug into this, but here's a preview for next week, is the level selector. What I want to do for my next demo, which is what I'll be working on, is have a tricks level, a race level, and a battle level. And I want to try to get high scores, fast score in each of those. And that way, like, people can have something to shoot for the demo, just for something for fun to play. To have a goal, and just, I want to see how people react to that. If you want to play the demo, make sure you go to creeksidecabingames.com. It's available for download there. You just need an Xbox controller or you need a controller and Windows computer. Actually, I don't know. Unity might even play on Mac. I don't even know. Oh yeah, I meant to get the level select. This is my version here, okay. So this is mostly Corgi engine still, and there's also like big bugs. I've had to hack it, so if we look at what it usually says is level manager, instance, go to level name. Because I hacked, I overwrote the level manager. This does not work. So I'm gonna have to override. I believe I'm gonna have to override the game manager next week to get this to work. But back to, I still have the Corgi engine graphics in there, but I'll take screenshots for my game. So I'll do a trick level, race level, and battle level. The way I have this, it does work. It's just real slow. So we want to go to the race level. We'll select it. Honestly, it might not work. The trick level should work. So you see, that took a really long time. But here we are. Oof. Yeah, okay, there we go. Well, thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you sometime next week, I hope.